Hey friends, welcome back to another Seed Talk with Lisa and Layne. Hey Layne.
Hello, almost the end of the year,
Oh,
Lisa.
oh my gosh, can you believe 2024 is just around the corner? I can hardly imagine it. I mean, good thing we don't write checks anymore, right? Remember back in the day when we wrote checks all the time and the first month of the new year, you were always writing the wrong year?
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah.
we're aging ourselves. Anyway,
Yeah.
at least I'm aging me. You're a babe in the woods and you age. So, welcome, friends. This is the Seed Talk podcast, which is brought to you by thegardenersworkshop.com, which is where Layne and I spend our days creating and facilitating for people to grow cut flowers and to grow them from seed anywhere in the world.
Yep.
And Layne, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, since it is almost the end of the year, we thought it would be a good idea to look back on 2023 and do a little bit of a wrap up. So, we're going to take a look at our top 5 selling seeds of the entire year so you can kind of see what everybody else was growing, see if that was something you were growing too, or maybe something that you should be growing. And then we're going to talk about a few different things that we're going to do differently in 2024. So, we'll just go back and forth between Lisa and I. And by the way, feel free to follow along. We would encourage you to answer these questions for yourself. And if you're watching over on YouTube, you can share in the comments what your answers to some of the questions are. Or if you're listening in a podcast app, you can use the form linked in the show notes and share with us that way.
That's awesome. And that is a reminder, Layne, that they can pop over to YouTube and watch us because you always have such a beautiful slideshow to go along with our podcast. So we invite you to do that. All right, let's get going.
Okay, so let's go through our list of the top 5 selling seeds of 2023. And number one, this is no surprise to Lisa or to myself, it is Zinnia Benary's Giant Mix.
You know, it took me years as a flower farmer to recognize that even though they're easy to grow when you give them what they really need, people still just love them. I mean, we
Yep.
it was the number one seed we sold. It was always the one of the number one cut flowers we sold for all of our decades of flower farming. So yeah, I'm totally in on the yay, yes for Benary's Giants. I mean, beyond it's the most commercially grown, and there's a reason for that. They're the biggest, most voluptuous, most disease resistant, and the color selection, I think they're up to 13 or 14 different colors. You know, some years one or two of the colors may not be available, but they're salmon. And I mean, I'm just looking at this pinwheel. The colors are just spectacular.
Yeah, and the fun thing about growing a mix is you can find new colors that maybe you wouldn't have tried before and find which your favorites are. And then if you want in the future, grow singles of those.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, our number 2 seed of the year was Eucalyptus parvula gum, and that is the small-leafed eucalyptus that Lisa, you have come to really love in recent years, and I definitely love.
You know, it's not only do I love it because of the look, I love that it's a little darker color. You know, it's a little bit, it's not that eucalyptusly gray kind of color, but anything with a small leaf gives you more uses. You can use it in smaller bouquets. I mean, boutonniere work and all that kind of stuff for wedding work, it is just priceless. But I will tell you that Parvula gum also became one of our top growers. We were able to overwinter it, you know, with a little extra TLC. And it got over like 8 feet tall in its second year with a ton of side branching. So, I mean, I would have been just elated to have that when we were in production. But we always saved our eucalyptus till late in the season, and it's just a perfect match for fall flowers. I love it.
I love it. And I love the smaller, more delicate looking leaves
Yeah.
and the structure of it. It's just really, really pretty and it's easy to incorporate into bouquets or anything that you'd want. And it doesn't immediately strike you as a eucalyptus, like you were saying, Lisa.
Exactly. I mean, people are like, what is that? And I also wanted to add, because I'm a little sensitive to fragrances, it's not quite as smelly as the other eucalyptus. So I'm pretty sure it might not produce enough oils that people really love it that do that type of process with it. But yeah, as a cut flower, it is just the best. We love it.
All right, moving on to number 3, and it was Celosia Texas Plumes Mix. And this has a rainbow of different colors in these big, beautiful plumes.
You know, I just love Texas plumes since the first day I met them. And I love them because their plumes are a little bit bigger. The plant overall is taller than most of the other plume spikes, in the Celosia family. But in addition to that, with them being taller, their blooms are bigger, and the colors from shrimp to soft pink to salmon and yellow and almost green white. I mean, if you can only grow one Celosia plume, this is the one. And we just absolutely love it. It's actually grown for us. And we just, there's a reason that it's worth all that extra effort. It's amazing.
And we actually have an entire episode about Texas plumes and the growing of Texas plumes. And that was back in episode 17 if you want to take a listen or watch that. All right, moving on to number 4 for the year. It was Black-Eyed Susan or Rudbeckia Sahara. And this just has such a beautiful variation of colors from coppers to pale yellows to wine, soft rose. There are just so many beautiful colors in this mix.
It is. And Layne, this is a cool flower. We treat it as a cool season hardy annual and fall planted. And we get the most tremendous length of stem when we do that. I kind of kept away from Sahara for several years as a grower because I heard a lot of people belly aching about, oh my gosh, they only get 12 or 18 inches tall. Well, when you plant them in the fall or very early spring, that season we're getting ready to head straight into in January, we get tremendous stem length because the colors in here you just don't want to miss out on. They're so beautiful.
Yeah, they are gorgeous. And number 5 was actually my favorite feverfew, which is Tetra White Wonder. It's a little double flower and it's white.
I love this is one of this I think was actually the first feverfew I ever grew. And
Oh, really?
yeah, and actually it's been renamed through the years, but I think it used to be called Balls Ultra, but it's always been this little double flower, and it's just the sweetest little flower, and we love cutting it early and then cutting it late and using it all the times in between. It's just beautiful in the garden, and it's priceless in bouquet work.
Yeah, and I've said this before, but I love taking just a big bunch of feverfew and putting that by itself in a vase. It's so beautiful. And like I said, this is actually my favorite feverfew. And what's funny, Lisa, is your favorite Vegmo single, which is the single daisy-like looking feverfew. That was
Yes.
actually number 6. So they
Was
were
it
neck and neck.
really?
Yes, it was.
Well, they're just so useful. And I think these years of, kind of right now in the wedding circles, baby's breath had its day. And now, the feverfews are just a great white flower that are so much better than baby's breath, if you ask me. But
Yeah.
anyway.
All right, now we're going to move on to discussing some things we're going to be doing potentially a little differently in 2024. And the first topic is going to be something new we're trying in 2024. And Lisa's is more like some experimenting that she's going to be doing.
Yes. So we're always on the trail of trying to flush out any plant that potentially may be a cool flower, a cool season hardy annual, which most importantly, what that means is that we've probably not been planting it at the proper time, if in fact it is a cool season hardy annual. So I am going to be doing an experiment this year on bunny tails grass. And I have tried to grow bunny tails for several years, and I grow them. They germinate and grow, but they just don't get tall enough to make it truly a viable cut flower crop. And then I saw on social media somewhere, I can't even remember where it was, somebody commented that they plant bunny tails in the fall. They're in zone 8, winter hardiness zone 8, and it's a perennial where they live. And I thought, a perennial where she lives, that means that it's probably a cool season hardy annual. Because most often, a lot of times you'll hear people use those terms perennial, but in fact, that just means it survives winter. It probably may not have a long life where it returns year after year. So here we are this year. We have 2 plantings of bunny tails in the garden. One was a little bit earlier, so it have a little bit more hunk to it when it faced winter. and then a normally planted cool season hardy annual. And we will plant again in very early spring. And we're going to see, can we get those bunny tails up to 20 to 24 inches instead of 12 to 18 inches? Time will tell.
Yeah, and bunny tails grass, it just has these sweet little tufts that really do look like a cottontail. And these
Yes.
are always in our top sellers as well, Lisa. These are
Yes.
definitely in the top 10.
I mean, and that's why Bobo and I knew that this would definitely be worthy. There's a lot of people interested in grown bunny tails. I mean, who doesn't want that little bunny tail in their bouquets?
Well, I certainly do. They're adorable.
It is adorable.
All right, so something new that I'm looking forward to trying in 2024 is something called Carthamus or safflower. And Lisa grew a variety last year called Zanzibar, and I was intrigued right away when I saw it. It has this beautiful dark green foliage and these really interesting orange and golden yellow sort of powder puff blooms. But I actually like them before they even bloom because the flower buds have this really geometric look to them. They look almost like an artichoke, and they just add so much interest to an arrangement or out in the landscape. So I'm looking forward to trying some Carthamus this next year and seeing what the deer and rabbits have to say about it.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. I love every stage, but
Yeah.
we find it really useful early, mid, and even after the blooms because we dry it and it dries beautifully too.
It does. And if you're using this before it's actually bloomed, by the way, you can use it almost like you would use a sunfill sunflower.
Exactly. It's excellent filler and it's a great grower and it branches. So it's a great crop. It's a great cash crop. I don't know why I didn't grow it for many years. I think I didn't really understand that it was a cool flower. You know what I mean? So the timing wasn't right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to move on to something we're not growing in 2024. And if you're watching over on YouTube, don't panic when you see that Lisa's half of the screen has a sunflower on it. It's not that she's not growing sunflowers, it's just that she's going to be cutting some different varieties of sunflowers from her grow list. And the one we're looking at is Premier Orange.
Yes. So this is kind of the ebb and flow of not so much being just a gardener, but particularly as a business person. Sometimes there's just seeds that there's really by no fault of their own, is it that they are going to get cut. For us, this is one that we just can't get a steady supply of seed from. And that's enough for me to cut you from the list. Anything business is complicated enough without added complications. And added complications is having a particular sunflower in my rotation because we plant sunflowers every week. If I remember right, doesn't Premier, isn't that like a 45-day bloom time or something?
It is faster,
Yeah,
yes.
it's really fast. To try to get that into our calendar and then not to have the seeds was like a total pain. So yeah, so we've cut Premier and there's nothing wrong with Premier. She's a beauty if you get to grow her. That's the problem.
That is a very pretty flower. And it's
Yeah.
always hard to cut things from your grow list, but it really is true that deciding what not to grow can be just as important as deciding what to grow.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, now we're going to move on to my pick for something I'm not growing in 2024. And my pick is going to be amaranth. And it's not actually that I'm not growing amaranth at all next year. It's just that I'm not planning on growing it until late summer and fall.
Right.
And the pest pressure from pigweed flea beetles at that time of year is almost non-existent for me compared to earlier in the season when it's pretty extreme. And even though I do love amaranth at any time of year, fall is when I find myself craving it the most and appreciating it the most. So I'll be trying to stop myself from starting amaranth until later in the season next year. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's really smart, Layne. And I think that is another thing people have to really resist is to find out when maybe if you have a pest issue or a environmental issue, temperatures or whatever, find like Cosmos. Cosmos just performs so great late summer into fall. They'll
Yeah.
grow earlier in the summer, but they don't quite hold up as long. You know what I mean? So I think it's hard to make those decisions because you want them as early as you can, but that's smart.
All right, now we're going to move on to some 2024 resolutions. And I'm sure we both have multiple, but we tried to just settle on one each to share. So Lisa's resolution is something that's pretty challenging for her because it involves downsizing.
Yes. So the if you're watching us on YouTube, that is a view from upstairs in my studio down on one of our gardens, and those beds are about 120 feet long. And there's a bunch of them, and there's a bunch more that you can't see. And that's us in high production. And I love everything about that. But we no longer need that volume of production because the bottom line is if you want a garden to keep producing, you have to cut it clean twice a week, y'all. The more you cut it, the more it produces. So Bobo and I are committed this year. Oh my gosh, I'm saying it publicly, so now I'm really going to have to do it.
Uh-oh.
That we have downsized our garden and we're going to make the space that we've designated, which is about, I mean, I'm even going to say I haven't measured it. We've just made it a little bit bigger on one side so they'd be the same on both sides. But I'm going to say it's about a quarter of an acre, which doesn't sound like much, but that is still a lot of blooming flowers. And it's really hard. It's less seeds to start, less, it's less everything, but we are looking forward to really being able to maybe keep our timing more on schedule and to squeeze as many flowers out of that small space as possible. So we're excited, but I'm also really scared.
So you're going to be doing more with less, basically.
Exactly.
Well, I think you'll enjoy it, Lisa.
Me
I
too.
just don't know if you'll be able to hold to it.
Yeah, we'll see. Because I do have a lot of available space, y'all.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on to my resolution for the year. And like I said, I have several, but one that I will share is my resolution for 2024 has to do with plant support. So most of the flowers that we're growing here in our home garden are integrated out in the landscape rather than being in distinct beds. And that can make it a bit more challenging to incorporate supports and still have everything look nice. But I
Yeah.
always regret not getting out there and having some sort of supports in place before the plants grow and get completely out of hand. So I'm going to be making an effort to do more of that earlier on in the season.
Good luck with that. But that
Yeah.
is, but that's exactly what we're trying to do too. You know what I mean? Is to do our chores more timely because it's less work with a better result in the end. See,
Right.
how much happier will you be with all your beautiful digitalis that you grow standing
Oh,
upright and not
yes.
laying down?
Yeah. Because netting even gets away from you, Lisa, out on the farm.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm constantly having to confess because we do so much video in here. I have to say, this flower really should be netted, but
Yeah.
there's actually a picture in my new book where it shows a cool flower garden for the year that we had that really weird, not weird, just, the normal craziness of February where it got really warm. Everything started shooting up, but then it was getting cold again. So I really couldn't net. But before I knew it, the snapdragons were too tall to net and they got away from me. So it's a picture of it says this garden should be netted, but it, didn't happen. And, happens to me too. So
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for our 2023 wrap up. We just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who has supported us this year. And we appreciate so much if you've left ratings and reviews in a podcast app. It really helps us. And you have no idea how much we appreciate your kind words. We read all of them. So thank you so much. And thanks for spending some time with us this year. And we just wanted to say cheers to our best gardens ever in 2024.
that's great, Layne. Yes. So we want to thank you. And friends, if you haven't, posted a review or subscribed or, or shared with a friend, with all of that helps us. It tells the platforms that are showing our podcast to people that, people are really enjoying this content. And we appreciate you guys actually doing that. We just love being connected to you guys. So, friends, I also want to say as we're moving into 2024, that the gardenersworkshop.com, which is what keeps Layne and I busy during our work days, has a fully stocked online garden shop. We Many of the items that we mention here on the podcast, all of the seeds, and you'll find them over there, as well as our online library of online courses. But I just wanted to mention that if you are new to seed starting or you are really ready to ramp up your game, we have a kit that's called the Complete Seed Starting Kit. And it has everything that you need to go from starting the seed, sprouting it, growing it up indoors, then how to get it out to the garden and protect it and feed it there. And the complete kit has the grow light and it has my online seed starting made easy, which is about a 90-minute course that just really takes you by the hand and walks you through it. And we love starting seeds. And both Layne and I both are big soil blockers, right, Layne?
Yes. Yep. I start
And
basically everything in soil blocks, either the small or a larger size.
yes. And anyway, so that kit is available. So if you're embarking, it really takes you by the hand. And the thing that I think probably attracted Layne is same as it did me, it takes up so little space. This little grow light that's a tabletop only takes up a footprint of 12 inches by 24 inches. That's like 2 square feet, y'all. And you can grow like 240 plants in that small space. And, whenever I talk about this, Layne, I think how revolutionary that is for
Yeah.
people that are growing and trying to grow in pots and cell packs, and it grows an incredible little transplant. So find that over at thegardenersworkshop.com. I just thought I would mention it as we are heading in to the biggest seed starting season of the year, early spring. And we'd love to see you over there at thegardenersworkshop.com. All right, friends, here is to seeing you on the flip side in 2024 to meet us right back here. Layne and I will be rolling out seed talks, and we love to hear from you.
We do. We're ready to do some seed starting. Are you ready to get back into it, Lisa?
Oh my goodness, I already have some started. Don't tell anybody.
Oh, me too.
We can't help ourselves, y'all. All right, friends, Happy New Year. Until we meet again. Ciao.
Bye.